Am I the a-hole for gifting my mom and her husband a book on cheating for their anniversary? I'm 16 male and I love my mom, 35, but when I was 10, she had an affair and left us. I visited her as often as I could and she always seemed so happy when I was there, but I hated her new family so I stopped visiting. Honestly, we rarely ever saw each other after just for my birthday and events really. She wants us to be close, but I want nothing to do with her new husband, so I've kept my distance. Except on February 20th. My dad announced he'd be out on business till the 12th, and my grandparents are stuck visiting relatives in Italy, and so I really had nowhere to go. And my mom jumped at a chance to have me stay with her. And just my luck that my mom's anniversary with her husband was on Sunday. I haven't had a good time here at all, so all I do is stay in my room doing homework or go out with friends to avoid family activities. Because it sucks seeing how lovey-dovey she is with her husband, and how they seem like the perfect family with her daughters. But the morning before her anniversary day, she came to my bed and tried to cuddle with me like before she left us. But it made me angry. Like, we can't go back in time and pretend it's how it was. So I just pretended to be asleep and stayed curled up and frozen till she left. I started crying because of that, and I felt angry and snarky. My mom majored in literature, so I got her a copy of Anna Karenina for her anniversary. That book's about a lady who leaves her husband and on for her lover. I've never read it, but I watched the movie with my girlfriend and I hated it. The anniversary party was on Sunday. Everyone was having fun but me, and then people gave their gifts. I gave mine, and when my mom saw what it was, she seemed shocked, but just said thanks. The party ended like an hour after, but at night when she was in her room, I heard her crying really loudly. So I kinda eavesdropped a little, and heard her saying stuff about that book and me, and her husband trying to calm her. The next day at breakfast, she left for work early before I woke up, and her husband straight up called me an a-hole, and other stuff for gifting them that. It's been a few days now, and my mom has barely talked to me. Honestly, I feel so wrong I made my mom cry, but at the same time, I don't want to be here and she knows that. So, am I really the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Definitely not the a-hole. For one, Anna Karenina is a classic and a great gift. For another, if the shoe fits, not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. She wouldn't take it so hard or understand what you were implying if she didn't already feel that way. Not the a-hole. Your mom had to face her past horrible behavior, and your gift caused her to have to confront the fact that her affair affects you negatively to this day. Her husband needs to stay the heck out of it. If he says anything else to you, perhaps you should challenge him on it. Oh, so you'd be okay with my mom cheating on you and walking away from you and your kids for a new man? Because that's what your behavior is telling me. And from the point of view of the kid who was left, I can tell you it has affected me in a negative way ever since it happened. And your crappy attitude is the largest reason why I don't like to visit with my mom. I don't like you, never have. So keep your opinions about me to yourself. Don't let your mom's tears guilt you. Did any of your tears after she left your family ever move her to action? Follow her lead on that. That is a stone-cold gift. A+, not the a-hole. Seriously, that was amazing. I'm very curious as to what your father would have to say about this. Is there any way that you could please update us? Thank you. I'll see. I made this backup to rant about my mom, so maybe I will. Not the a-hole. My dad cheated on my mom when I was in high school and went on to marry the woman he had an affair with. It has changed my relationship with my dad forever. Especially because he tried to force the one big happy family thing with her and her kids, as soon as he sold our family home and moved in with her. Your mom does not get to force herself back into your life in her terms, the cuddles, to make herself feel better, and in the process making you feel worse. My dad did the same, and it's awful. You're not a teddy bear. She needs to recognize the lasting damage she's done and stop expecting you to fit the role she's assigned you in her head. Next story. Am I the a-hole for getting upset at the jokes that I am not family? Plus little update. I, Pam, 29 female, am 4 months pregnant with my fiancé Matt, 34 male, and my first child. His family on the whole are very welcoming and often include me, except for some comments that they make that really hurt my feelings. These comments always refer to me not being a part of the family. At our engagement party that his parents wanted to throw for us, I made a speech saying thank you to the best in-laws. And his mom made a statement in front of everyone how I shouldn't say that as we are not family yet. I would like to add that his mom has had a few phone calls with Matt's ex-girlfriend in front of me, where she would be reminding the ex that they are family. 2 days ago, the mom said that she wanted family photos, but could only do it once my baby was born as I won't be family until then. The whole family then proceeds to tell me how we must not be too sure that we are having a boy, and I'm not allowed to buy boys' clothes. They rained in our parade as we were happy with the news. We would have been thrilled either way, and feel like it is because they thought we were going to have a girl. Matt at first told me that they are joking with me, and that they wouldn't if I wasn't family when I try to talk to him about it. He has recently started to see things from my side when I pointed out that my family doesn't do this. Then today, I'm on a family group and the uncle posts this exact message. Dear family and Pam, I want to have a get-together for my birthday and was planning a day out in the countryside on Sunday. Is everyone available and Pam? I sobbed and lost it. I phoned Matt and said I'm leaving the group. Before I left, I replied, sorry, but I have family things that day, and exited. His uncle thinks that I can't take a joke. Matt supports me on this and understands why I'm hurt, but a part of me feels like maybe I overreacted. And what if I just can't take a joke? Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. This hurts that the unmarried ex-girlfriend is considered family. It appears that she still is, and you're not. Does Matt have children with the ex-girlfriend? They do not have any children together, but her mom and Matt's mom are best friends. He finds it awkward that she brought it up, but he never says anything. Just to add, she cheated on him and treated him like trash, and this hurts me even more that she is considered family. Sounds like your fiancé needs to have a come-to-Jesus talk with his mother about this, that she is choosing someone who cheated on her son. Like this says more about her than anything else. Not stay home. Don't invite them to any baby-related things since they're not family. Where's your husband/fiancé in all this? Why can't he have your back? So he originally said that they were joking with the original comments. That means that they think of me as family. He loves his family and I get that it is hard to realign, but he has slowly been considering it from the receiver's side. However, after what his uncle posted, he is pissed at them and said enough is enough and it isn't a joke anymore. He has apologized and is now standing firmly with me. Next time they say it's a joke, ask them to elaborate. And what part is the joke? It's only a joke if both sides are laughing. They're just being a-holes. It might be tough for your fiancé to realize his family is very toxic. Update. Matt's mom phoned to say how awful that message from his uncle was, and how she is glad I stood up for myself, which was very ironic. Matt actually took the phone call and set things, and boundaries, straight with his parents. Turns out, in the last few days, Matt's sister also told his mother that Matt's ex and her mother are not family, and stood up for me. Things are looking much brighter. Added, I wanted to say a massive thank you to you all. I'm a person who backs down easily and always wants to keep the peace. This has helped me to realize that when things are not okay, then change them. And it is okay to set things right with Matt so he can sort it with his family. All of this thinking of family has me thinking of Vin Diesel Fast and Furious memes, to be honest, and I'm having a good giggle. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not telling my daughter's father that she has cancer? I, female 24, have a 3-year-old daughter with my ex, male 27. We split up in December 2020 after I found out he cheated on me, and since then, he has been almost completely absent in my daughter's life. He has visited a grand total of 10 times, never pays for any costs at all, insults both me and her. It has made nasty posts on his Instagram calling me an ugly, cheap woman. It has made several posts calling our daughter ugly as well. Flash forward to a few weeks ago and my daughter started complaining of pain and was running a fever and had some pretty nasty bruising. I freaked out and took her to the doctor only to be told that it was a virus that would go away and that it wasn't COVID or flu. I called my ex and was trying to tell him how worried I was, but he told me he didn't care and hung up. Because of this, I cut him off and just resolved not to tell him anything else. Eventually, I took my daughter back to the doctors and begged them to do something else. Blood tests and other tests were performed, and it turns out she has B-cell acute lymphoblastic leukemia. This is the scariest moment in my life. As I sit here writing this, my daughter is down for sedation and counts. We've been in the hospital since her diagnosis 2 weeks ago. I've cried more than I've ever cried in my entire life, and seeing her tiny body infested with this horrible disease is almost more than I can handle. Last night, I made a Facebook post about my daughter. My Facebook is private, and I'm not friends with my ex or any of his friends. I'm friends with his sister though, but we haven't talked since I broke up with him, so I pretty much forgot about it. Well, she saw the post and told him. I didn't check my phone most of today because I am so preoccupied that I don't have time. When I opened my messages today, I saw over 20 messages from my ex and his mother, calling me horrible names, telling me I should have told them, and that I'm an awful person for not telling them. He called me a cheap woman again, and told me that it was his daughter too, and he had a right to know about this. I asked if he would like to come see her, and he declined, but twisted this to his family, and now everybody's mad at me. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. You already called to tell him she was ill and in the hospital. When he said, "I don't care," and hung up, what precisely were you supposed to take from that, other than his words at face value? If you feel the need to drop a clanger, I suggest a group text including him and all his family, so they all get it at once. Dear a-hole and family, I would like to give you an update on daughter's condition, but unfortunately I do not feel comfortable doing this. You see, when I originally took daughter to the hospital and was told it was a virus, I called a-hole and he told me in no uncertain terms that he did not care and hung up on me. Since then, I have taken his words for face value. Never mind the terrible names he calls myself and daughter. Given the texts I've received from everyone since then, I can see that I was correct in feeling that none of you truly care about daughter, since no one bothered to ask how she is and only proceeded to attack me. You should all be ashamed of yourself, but that's probably too highbrow for trash. From now on, unless you can be civil and helpful, don't contact me. OP. Thank you. Someone else at least pointed out the fact the man, I say this as a noun and nothing more, is abusive towards a little girl. Like, what kind of father, if he was a good one, would tell the mother he didn't care that his kid was in the ER? Especially since kids' immune systems aren't exactly stellar. And at age 3, kids like to stick random objects, trash, toys, and so forth into their mouths, so the common flu, cold, and everything else is common. Add in a pandemic, and it's not a fun time for kids. And I totally agree with the note. I'd screenshot all the texts and voicemails, some can be transcribed into text, and add them to the note. And say, this is the crap he's been sending. And I'd include previous ones prior to this showing him not caring about his kid. I just hope she'll be okay. Thankfully, it's been caught early, so she has amazing chances. Jesus, I'm so sorry this is happening. 100% not a-hole. Also, screw him right in the ear. You tried to tell him she was sick, even if you didn't know at the time it was cancer, and he blew it off. End of story. As for the rest of the family being mad at you, if you're not mad at him for calling you a cheap woman and his own daughter ugly, well, screw him. They suck and their opinions don't matter. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my parents, especially my dad, what happened to my brother was partly their fault because they enabled him? The problems with my brother's weight became so bad he qualified for bariatric surgery. Before the surgery, he ended up being taken to the A&E and was admitted. The doctor told him he needed to lose weight. His food intake was supposed to be controlled, but instead of losing weight, he gained nearly 4 stone, nearly 50 pounds. Turns out, my parents, especially my dad, were sneaking food to him on their visits. My brother lives with my parents, and they bring him food because he's unable to go out or make it on his own. He chooses to eat, but lately he relies on my parents for meals. My dad was even caught bringing him food he isn't supposed to have. The hospital has social workers and the authorities involved. My parents, especially my dad, are being looked at for neglect. And although my brother is an adult, they are looking at whether my brother could be classified as vulnerable due to his addiction, although he is a mentally competent adult. I'm not sure how it will go, as I don't live with them or know the law in this area. But my parents are banned for seeing my brother right now, and the hospital is trying again with some weight loss prior to surgery. My brother needs round-the-clock care, so he's still in the hospital. His weight last I heard is 40 stone 10, 570 pounds. I'm not sure now as the hospital isn't giving my parents updates. When my dad wouldn't stop calling me angry and upset over it, and saying the authorities are out of line and trying to get me to help fund a legal challenge, I told him he shouldn't have brought food to my brother. My mom is furious that I upset him, and says my brother didn't like the food they were giving him, and that dad was just doing what he thought was best. Should I have not said anything about my dad enabling or been honest with him? My mom says I crossed a line because I'm not a carer for him, and it's the crux of the arguments I've had with her. Not stay home. Your parents are literally killing your brother. Hopping on top comment to say, if the brother isn't completely dedicated to weight loss, bariatric surgery isn't going to help him long term. I'm on a waiting list for it myself, so I'm researching it as much as possible. You can still eat terribly if you want to with high-calorie lighter foods. You're just initially forced to eat smaller amounts. If you want to stretch your stomach out again, you can, but not following doctor's instructions. OP, you used stone. Are you in the UK like I am? There's years-long waiting lists for it on the NHS if so, and usually you have to lose 5 to 10% of your body weight and keep it off to prove you're committed. The surgery is just a tool. It doesn't do the work for you. He has to want to use it. Please consider talking to him gently and make sure he wants this. If he doesn't, it's not going to work. Not Day Hall, and you were right. Your folks are enabling him. But unless he wants to live differently, this isn't going to help him. Good luck, OB. Not stay home. It is partly their fault. Not entirely, but partly. If they deny it, they're delusional. Until he got into hospital, the nanny-gains were 100% their fault because they were circumventing the system with a person who they knew would be vulnerable and eat what they brought. Not stay home. They're causing harm to your brother and should be cut off. If they were good parents, he wouldn't be morbidly overweight. They are killing him with misplaced care. Not stay home. To be fair to my parents, my brother was nearly 29 stone when he went to live with them again. Prior to that, he lived on his own and was already obese. My parents, especially my dad, enabled him at his problems, but they were there when he was on his own already. Your parents are sour, they're facing consequences for disobeying hospital's rules. I'd expect you to participate in the same fantasy that what they're doing is best for your brother. Your parents are delusional. Relationship advice. Update. My 27 female boyfriend, 28 male, is obsessed with my ex, 27 male. Original story. We've been together for 2 years, and before this, I would say our relationship was very close to perfect. At the beginning of the year, though, my boyfriend and I were at the grocery store, and we bumped into my ex and another friend. This was the first time they had ever met each other. We made polite conversation before going our separate ways. My boyfriend made a sarcastic comment about how nice my ex was when he was out of earshot. I didn't think much of it at the time. A few weeks after this, I noticed he was on my ex's Facebook page. When I asked him what he was doing, he shrugged it off and said he was curious because he saw my ex had commented in Luke's, a mutual friend of ours and my ex's, post. His sis friended him on there and claimed my ex was the one to initiate it. He's followed him on Instagram and Twitter too. He comments on a lot of his posts too, but my ex rarely comes back. He also somehow got Luke to invite him to my ex and his friends' weekly, virtual hangouts. I mentioned I found it weird that they were hanging out, but he dismissed it and said it wasn't a big deal. He's also started talking about changing his career path to what my ex is doing, and makes snide comments about if his dad paid his way for him, he would take me on fancy trips too. He's also become incredibly passive-aggressive towards me and makes comments about how if my ex didn't move abroad for a few years, we probably would never have dated. If I say no to anything, including intercourse, he comments about how he bets I wouldn't say no if my ex was the one asking. He also got really sulky when he realized I still had a gift my ex gave me. Yesterday, we had a massive fight over it because I wanted to spend time together, but he ditched me to go hang out with my ex. I got so upset, I told him he might as well date my ex instead. I don't really know what to do now. He's giving me the silent treatment, and I heard him tell my ex what I said, which is really humiliating. What can I do to make him stop hanging out with my ex? Now for the top advice before reading the update. If you want to be so much like my ex, I'll just break up with you too. Red flags all around. It sounds like your guy is deeply insecure and channeling that insecurity into loathing. He's already taking it out on you, manipulating you, pressuring you in the bedroom, even attempting to turn your seemingly amicable ex on you. He's pushing your boundaries, and his demands are impossible. Nothing you do will fix his insecurity, and so he will continue to lash out and demean you. I know, because I have been there. This relationship sounds nothing close to perfect. I sincerely hope you distance yourself from him and get some perspective. Best of luck. Hey, so you mentioned that your relationship was close to perfect before this, but considering this started nearly a year ago, this new dynamic characterizes almost half of your 2 years together. Sounds a lot like he had on a honeymoon period mask and has now revealed his true colors. Sorry, but I don't think getting your boyfriend to stop hanging out with your ex solves your problem. Your current boyfriend has serious issues and is demonstrating a willingness to try to build himself up by tearing you down. He also is apparently pretty manipulative and controlling. So many red flags. He has managed to make you rethink ever saying no to him because you're trying to avoid a manufactured fight in which he compares himself to your ex. He sulks to get his way. He guilts you to get his way by saying you probably wouldn't say no to your ex. Passive-aggressive, etc. It appears he's testing your boundaries to figure out what emotional manipulation he can apply to get his way. He's punishing you by weaponizing things you say while discussing your relationship with him and telling them to others to shame you and make you less likely to advocate for yourself later. Kind of sounds like he's trying to make you jealous to prove you love him more, possibly stemming from insecurity, but could be more malintentioned than that. Constant testing of affection is not a great strategy for longevity. He's insincere. The two-faced thing he has going on with snide comments about how nice your ex was, and making fun of the opportunities/connections your ex had in his career at the same time as he's trying to build a relationship with him to leverage his career connections, is definitely going to catch up with him. The way you describe it, it's deeply creepy how he manipulated his way into your ex's friend circle. I'm sure you want back the boyfriend you thought you had prior to this revelation, but he probably doesn't exist. This is who you're dating. Even if you get him to stop hanging out with your ex, he's demonstrated how he interacts in relationships once he's made it to the comfort level. He will use what he learned through this period to get you to think it's too much of an inconvenience to stick up for yourself in other ways. Please don't buy into the sunk cost fallacy. You've got too much of your life still ahead of you for that. Don't take my word for it, though. I highly recommend you read Lundy Bancroft's Why Does He Do That? I think you'll recognize your boyfriend. And now for the update. After my last post, I tried to take the advice into comments and suggested couples counseling. And I asked my boyfriend to cut off my ex, but he got angry at me again. He claimed I was the one who needed therapy because I had jealousy issues, and that my ex was one of his good buddies and I couldn't dictate who he was friends with. Then a week later, he had another hangout with my ex and his friends, where he proceeded to very loudly tell them how I was so insecure and I was trying to tell him who he could speak to. My ex and Luke had to tell him to stop, which she didn't like at all. I should have just broken up with him at this point, but I was stupid and still clinging to the hope of my boyfriend going back to how he was. After this happened, my boyfriend was constantly making jabs at my ex and Luke, but then he would still contact them and pretend to be friends with them. Then, he became super interested in what my intimate life was like with my ex. He was constantly asking me who was better between the two of them, and he would ask me if I had done this or that with my ex. I kept telling him I didn't want to talk about it and to stop asking me. I then found out from my ex and Luke that he had been asking my ex directly the same questions, and that he had been bragging about our intimate life to his friends. My ex said he was telling me because my boyfriend made a comment about loaning me to my ex, if he ever felt like recreating old times. That was the final straw for me, and I broke up with him and moved out. My now ex-boyfriend didn't take the breakup well, and he went on a smear campaign. He even contacted my family and my ex's family to tell them we were apparently having an affair and that he had no choice but to break up with me. It's been almost a month since we broke up, and he keeps getting new numbers to text and call me. Deep down, I think I knew this would be how things ended. I'm sad about the relationship I thought we had ending, but now that I've had space away from my ex-boyfriend, I feel much better. And it's like a huge weight has been lifted from my shoulders. Damn, consider a restraining order or something. His obsessive behavior is concerning, and it's better safe than sorry. This actually could be an option. OP, even if he doesn't seem threatening now, please keep a record of every uncomfortable text, call, post, etc. just in case. I've had to deal with a crazy obsessive ex before, and it was a very tough experience. Jesus, I am so sorry about this, but I am glad you were able to get away safely. I don't want to alarm you, but if he is still harassing you, then you need to be concerned. I recommend you let your family and friends know what is going on. Preserve any messages from him that he sends, even from different numbers, and consider if you want to pursue a restraining order. This is not just a bad breakup, this is harassment. If I were OP, I would be a little bit nervous about the potential for physical stalking. In addition to preserving previous evidence, I would start using a security camera at my place, and while I wouldn't agonize over the footage, I would save it just in case. This dude is nuts. Leave and don't ever look back. Seriously. Seriously? Her and her ex broke up for reasons. The now ex still decides it's a good idea to be the bigger idiot. What the hell was he thinking was gonna happen? Now for the next story. Wild update. Guilt. Thinking of ending my 29 female, 10-year marriage to my husband, 32 male. Original story. I feel like a bad partner for even doing this here, but here we go. I have been with my husband for 10 years. Got married because he was in the army and I was trying to escape my life. We both come from very different backgrounds. He is white, from a conservative family, grew up poor. I'm black, grew up rich, from a liberal/educated family. It was very much a poor little rich girl running away with the boy from the wrong side of the tracks. I'm not the easiest person to live with. I am very career-driven and my job is my life. I love what I do and work in an industry that takes me away from home with weird hours. I'm not a super affectionate person as it's hard for me to share my feelings, cuddle, etc. I'm never going to be the woman that leaves her husband cutesy sticky notes and love letters. My husband is a good man. He's supportive of what I do, but I'm starting to think we can't give each other what we need. Example, my husband is a very sensitive guy. He also struggles with depression. He loves me more than anything in the world, but expects me to take on all the burdens when he can't. He lost his job 2 months ago. At the same time, I transitioned into a director-level role with a new organization for the first time. He's never done much of the household work, but I asked him to pick up the slack since he's unemployed. He hasn't. Literally sleeps all day. Applies to jobs here/there, but is mostly depressed in bed. I do all the finances, all the housework, most of the cooking. I told him last night that I feel like I take care of him, but he doesn't take care of me/himself. I mentioned splitting the savings to separate. We are both in therapy, separate, and he wants to commit to trying to work things out until the end of the year. I agreed. This morning, he went and bought me coffee, which was sweet, but immediately fell asleep. Even now, he's in the bed snoring. Part of me is over this. I don't want to be with someone else. We've been together for so long. Is it wrong that I'm afraid of losing this investment? I would love to have kids with my husband, but I don't want to bring them into chaos. Honestly, part of me is also concerned about dating at 29. All of my friends are now married/having kids. I feel like I wasted my 20s. Is it too late to start over? I also know my husband would not take separating sitting down, and I'm afraid of breaking his heart. I don't know, Reddit. Help me out. Now for the top advice before reading the update. It sounds like your husband is in a real deep depression, and it's getting to you. Losing a job can be really hard on a person. I think considering divorce or separation after just 2 months of unemployment during a time when unemployment has been at its worst in nearly a century seems rather drastic. You've been together nearly a decade. Give him at least a few more months to get his life back on track. I really think times like this are when antidepressants medications can be really helpful in returning life circumstances back to normal. I hope you both will be doing better soon. You kinda lost me here. Is there more to this story? Does he have a long history of unemployment? You've been together for 10 years, and your breaking point is 2 months into your husband having what is clearly a depressive episode that he needs professional help with? If you want to leave for whatever reason, you have absolutely every right to leave. But if you love this man and want to stay, you should be trying to help lift him out of his emotional state, rather than just calling it a day because things aren't exactly how you would like right now. Finally, a good comment. It's as if people just expect perfection. Depression doesn't just last 2 months, and he's your husband. Help him. You should leave because honestly, I think your husband can do better. He's clearly going through a depressive period. And instead of being worried or concerned for his health, they were worried of him not having a job during a pandemic. You made no mention of couples counseling. So you decided, without even trying to save your marriage, that you want to end it. So end it. Give this poor man the freedom to find someone who will love him in sickness and health. Edit. I have to say, I reread your post. And the more I read it, the more I find little to like. You are upset your husband went to sleep after getting you coffee. But you yourself admit to not being cutesy. You sound like someone who needs attention but can't give it. He's been depressed our entire marriage. He has been in inpatient treatment. He has been on medication. We have done couples therapy. I gave him 2 whole years once he got out of the military to readjust. I just took a job trying to work on police reform with a bunch of cops. In this moment, I mentioned I'm a director level now because for the first time I have a team and would like support. Maybe he does deserve someone else. Maybe I do too. And now for the update. I posted 5 months ago about ending my 10-year marriage to my underemployed and depressed ex. I had a lot of guilt at the time and wrote a self-deprecating post and got roasted. Lol. Looking back at the post now, I really was going out of my way to paint my ex in a good light. I was in love with him. I still have so much love for him after a decade and tried to protect him. I did take some advice that I got and did a collateral visit with my now ex's therapist that same week. And that meeting is when the crap hit the fan. Through the conversation with the therapist, I found out my ex has borderline personality disorder. The therapist asked me how I was coping with that news. Apparently my ex told his therapist that he had told me. A lie. But it makes sense. The diagnosis is terrifying. I was more pissed about the lying about it. Not telling your wife for 10 years that you have BPD was the last straw for me. We got into it after my session ended. Surprise, surprise, and everything started spilling out. Here are some things I found out during that final spat. He probably, definitely, cheated on me multiple times. He might have a 13-year-old child and never bothered to get a paternity test. He has a bunch of adult tapes of us that I did not consent to, which he threatened to leak. My entire world became undone at that moment. And I felt like I was looking at a stranger. I was honestly terrified of him after this was all disclosed. I packed up my stuff that day and left. Filed for divorce in January, and I just moved into my own place. I got a lot of crap in my original post. I was called gold digger, shallow, etc. Some of what was implied about me were true in retrospect, and I don't regret posting what I did. I've been in therapy to help me understand how a 19-year-old wound up married in the first place. But that's a different story. I'm nowhere near ready to be in a committed relationship anytime soon. Anyone reading this who has a funny feeling about a relationship, follow your instincts. Maybe it's nothing, but it might also be everything. Now for closing comments. I was called gold digger. This is particularly hilarious because it sounds like you were the one paying the bills. Good lord. Thank God you got away from this dude. Literally, anytime a woman is deemed insufficiently supportive of a sad/angry partner, there will be at least one comment implying, or outright stating, that she sees him as nothing more than a meal ticket, regardless of their actual financial situation. A lot of people out there who are very quick to throw that accusations around. Can't dig for gold you don't have. I love when people say dumb stuff like that. Like, unless you're secretly a millionaire coming into inheritance, you'll have to miss me with that $50,000 salary. That's more like copper digging. I'm so sorry this happened to you. You did the right thing by getting out, and I wish you the best. Threatening to leak an adult tape is just so unbelievably low and abusive to you. Personality disorder or not? Pretty sure threatening to leak a tape is also illegal, especially if it was recorded without a party's consent. Just wanted to say, BPD isn't a terrifying diagnosis and doesn't make someone evil or bad. Your ex-husband is evil and bad and just also happens to have a personality disorder. I'm really glad that you got out, and I wish you happiness and healthy relationships going forward. I have BPD, and it made me sad to read that in her post. Thank you for saying this. I see what you're saying. I don't think I worded what I was trying to say correctly. I was trying to say, in a sense, I understood being afraid to tell someone. But the lying about it to both me and the therapist was the scary part. I struggle with depression and anxiety. I know there's a stigma around mental health. I appreciate the comment and hope this explanation makes sense. Am I the a-hole for taking in my ex's dogs but not my homeless ex? Plus update. Original post. My wife left me and our kids a couple of years ago. She wanted a different life than what we had. She bought a converted van and tried to become a van life influencer. She got some followers, but not as many as it takes to be able to live off of it, I guess. She is in the city right now and her van needs repairs. We are in the middle of a heat wave and she needs a place to stay for a week or two. This is the only second time in 2 years she has bothered to see our kids. I have done my best to make sure that they know that even though their mom is gone, it isn't because she doesn't love them. I said she was working far away. Even after the divorce, I made sure she could have all the visitation she wanted. She doesn't want to stay with her parents because they are very critical of her choice to leave. She doesn't want to stay in a hotel because it will be a dent in her budget. I don't want her in my house because I don't want the kids to freak out when she leaves again. It's best if they see her in a neutral location. I volunteered to take her dog so she could stay at a hostel. She said I was an a-hole for not letting her stay in a house she helped pay for. I bought out her equity when we divorced. It wasn't that much. My parents said I should have let her stay. The woman I'm seeing said that she would have understood if I let her stay. I just know what it would do to my kids. Edit. Please stop messaging me for information on my ex. I won't say more than I have. I don't want anyone messing with her livelihood. I won't tell you what her handle is or what kind of dogs she has. I have a good life without her and my kids are doing okay. Thank you all for your concern. Now for the top comments before the updates a year later. Not the a-hole. You're being the best parent you can. She's abandoned her children and she has no right to impose on them and you. She's not there to see them. She needs a cheap place to crash. It might be traumatic for your kids to have her leave again, and that just isn't worth it, for you or for them. You bought her out, and she's used that equity to pursue her new life. She doesn't want to stay with her critical parents? Too bad. Dent her budget? Then where's the child support? Ask your mother to speak to your ex-in-laws or your mother can offer to host her. She's not there to see them, she needs a cheap place to crash. You summed it up perfectly. She's only in the same city because her van needs repairs. It's not like she made a special trip just to see the kids. It's only about convenience and not having to spend any money since she obviously doesn't care about her kids if she hasn't bothered to see them for 2 freaking years. Ding ding ding! Truth be told, the mother could have had the van repaired anywhere, but that would have hurt her bottom line more. And the difference in driving to the home city versus a hotel would have seen driving home win on costs. You're doing the right thing for your kids, OP. You're not the a-hole at all, but your ex certainly is. Well, 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 if it isn't the consequences of her own actions knocking at her door. For some reason, I have exactly zero sympathy for wannabe influencers/grifters. Not the a-hole. I mean, if she was just an influencer, I would probably feel kinda bad it didn't pan out for her. But the fact that she's a deadbeat makes me lose all my sympathy for her. Leaving her family aside, van life influencer sounds like one of the worst kind of influencers in my humble opinion. Even if I were single and for some type of crazy reason wanted to be an influencer, I cannot imagine not having decent access to a bathroom, shower, good mattress, etc. Maybe I'm old and boring at this point in my life, but yikes. If I had to be an influencer now, no one would follow me because it would be like, so these are my houseplants and this is my cupboard of ibuprofen. Now for the update 1 year later. My ex left me to pick up the pieces after she decided to try and be a van life influencer. I was devastated, but our kids were destroyed. Last year, she barreled back into our lives because her van needed work and she needed a place to stay. I did not want her in my house with my kids. She refused to stay with her parents, and because she had 2 dogs, a hotel would have been expensive. My parents, my girlfriend at a time, and several old friends said I should help her out. So I took on her dog so she could stay at a hostel. That worked out great because she met another nomad there. After her van was fixed, they departed together. I thank Christ every day I don't let her back into my kids' life so intrusively. It was so much easier to explain that she was just gone again than to let them watch her leave. The one good thing she did was abandon her dogs. I told her to come get them, but she said her new boyfriend was allergic, so I should keep them for her. I almost took the dogs to a shelter. Instead, I took them to a vet and registered them in my city. Now they are my dogs. Well, to be honest, they are my kids and my girlfriend's dogs. The dogs love them and tolerate me. My ex is in town again. Great mom hasn't bothered seeing her kids since last summer, but she wants her dogs back. I said no. I said she left them behind like trash, like she leaves everything. So they are mine now. She made noises about suing me. I told her to go ahead. I would love to take this public. I'm sure her followers would love to know where her dogs were for a year and why. She saw the kids for an afternoon and she tried to get them to yell at me to give her back the dogs. My kids are a little older now and see through her BS better. They said no. She is going a little crazy now, and the breeder she got the dogs from won't sell her more since she abandoned the last 2. She says that I'm trying to derail her career, and that I'm a jealous a-hole that never tried to love my dreams like she is. I told her that my dreams have never changed. To raise my kids with a woman who loved me and our children. To have a life together and see it through. I said my dreams are coming together now that she has taken herself out. She did pay a lot for the dogs, but she abandoned them in my opinion. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. She can't pick up and drop people or pets as and when she pleases. It says something loudly that she tried to purchase more pups. It's not about her missing or loving your dogs. It's the image she wants to portray of herself as having dogs, rolling around in her van taking meaningless videos and photos for strangers to mildly give a care about. She should invest more of her energy in her children, instead of bending your ear over her own poor life choices. I'm glad you've met your girlfriend. She seems to have a positive influence on your life. All the best to your family. I bet the lack of cute dogs has lost her followers. What a vile person. Holy crap. I remember your other post. You never answered any questions or updated. Not the a-hole. Your ex is kind of a monster though. Keep your kids and your dog safe from her. Part of the reason for this post is so that if she says anything, I have a platform to publish her Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok so her followers can know what she is really like. You should go ahead and do it just for kicks. Screw her career. If she has abandoned her children as well as her dogs with you and you don't want her in your life anymore, just block her from contacting you in any way. As you said, the kids are older and they don't agree with their biological mother anymore. It's time to close that chapter of your life and move on with your new life you made. If your kids ever want to contact her, I'm sure you would provide those details for them if the need ever arose. Sounds like you have made a massive change in the last few years and you all deserve happiness. Next story. Am I the a-hole for considering ending my engagement because my fiancé wants to sell our house to fund his new business while I'm pregnant and the sole breadwinner? I, 29 female, am engaged to Adam, 27 male. We have been together for 4 years, and when we met, we held the same job title at different companies. We earned about the same, and then a few months into our relationship, Adam started a business. The business took off and Adam went part-time and I worked nights to help the business. After COVID, demand fell and a few bad decisions later, Adam was in debt. Adam had to sell the business to cover himself, and he got a loan from his parents. In this time, I paid our bills for a few months and we had cutbacks. And at one point, it was bad enough that we might have had to move in with his brother. At the height of the business, he earned more than me, and we were able to get a good mortgage for a house we wouldn't be able to afford if we had just kept our jobs. Adam got his old job back and a slight raise after selling the business. I have been promoted, and then at the start of the year, got a massive pay raise into a management position at my company. It was down to luck. My boss was leaving and she recommended me for the role, although it would have taken me a few more years to get this position anywhere else. I found out I was pregnant, and since telling him, everything has changed. We have discussed kids in the past and that I would be a stay-at-home mom. But right now I earn nearly 2.5 times more, so it doesn't make sense for me to quit. Adam said he thought before us having a baby, he would have wanted his business to take off. We had a fight, as this is the absolute worst time to start a business. It hasn't been a month since he's paid off his parents. But he showed me his new business plans that will be funded by selling our house and downsizing. This time he insists it will take off and has learned from old mistakes. And it's a solid plan in my opinion, and I would have supported him if I wasn't pregnant. We have no savings for the baby, and no backup plan if the business fails and we'll have to sell our house. And Adam would need to earn my salary for us to ever be able to afford our now mortgage rate. I don't want to sell, but Adam says we wouldn't have even able to get the house in the first place without him. I can't believe Adam is being selfish and wants to quit his old job and start a business right now. I hate my new job, which Adam knows as management is very different, and I want my old job back. But for the baby, I am keeping my job and making a sacrifice. And Adam just needs to keep his job and maybe revisit the business idea in the future. I just don't know what to do, and I haven't told anyone else about the baby. Now for the top comments. Not a-hole. First off, with interest rates and home prices so high, you probably would not be saving much by downsizing. Secondly, there is a baby on the way. He needs to work and save money to start his venture in the future, not endangering your financial security. I hate to say it, but it may be time to downsize your relationship. Adam sounds like a selfish tool. Good luck. To me, starting a business falls into 2 categories. You do it when you have no obligations and can live on a shoestring. So if the business is your only income, you can make it work. And if it fails, it only impacts you. Or you do it while working a full-time job because you need the income to support your life. Fiancé can't afford to start a business right now and not also work a traditional job. For a variety of reasons, including what happens if OP has to go on bed rest and can't work, or if the worst happens and something happens to OP. They have no emergency fund, no coverage for the what-ifs. And that's before we get to the problems associated with looking at your home as an asset that you can use for things like helping fund your business. If fiancé was arguing about decreasing monthly costs as they were having a baby and are going to have childcare costs, maybe. But that doesn't sound like the situation. My husband has worked in and around a lot of startups. Most of the business founders have independent wealth, either inherited or they previously worked in finance and have a solid investment portfolio that they can live off, as a cushion to fall back on if the startup fails. And the vast majority of startups do fail. The only people I've known who started a business without independent wealth, they saved up the equivalent of a year's wages before they went out on their own. True, I had the equivalent of a year's wages when I quit my day job and started living exclusively from the money I could earn from my own business. I also make sure to always have about a year's wages in my buffer account. I can never go below. I'm a homeowner, and I don't trust the bank to lend me money if my house needs some work done. Last story. Would I be the a-hole if I gave my wife an ultimatum I'm sure she will fail? My 32 male wife, 30 female, has had anger issues our entire relationship. Together 6 years, married for 3 of them. We have talked about kids. I want them. She is not ready yet. We both use protection until we're both ready. I admit, at the start of our relationship, I thought, I can change her, / my love can change her. Weekly she would scream, cursing me, calling me an a-hole, bitch, dick, the C-word, and more, or combinations thereof. Never hitting me directly, but still acting aggressively. She has blocked me from leaving the room when she was treating me poorly, held on to me by the shirt collar, and pulled me close to yell in my face. Has hit walls and doors, and tried to break down doors if I tried to separate myself to calm down. She always had an excuse as to why her treatment of me was okay. Usually, I was the problem or her job was. When she settles down, she gets remorseful for a few days to a week, but inevitably goes back to screaming and name-calling. A year after we got married, she asked to quit her job and just take care of me in the house. She claimed this would give her time to work on herself more, since she wouldn't be dealing with the stressful work environment she had been in, call center, and wouldn't be as angry. I, ever hopeful, said yes, since I could afford it and saw benefits of her handling most of the house cleaning duties. Her treatment of me continued despite her not working. I never instigated these events, but as they've progressed over the years, I am ashamed to say I have retaliated in kind. I have yelled back and called her similar names, maybe hoping she'd realize how hurtful it is. I have expressed to her many times that the way she treated me was not okay. The way I respond to her treatment of me is not how I want to be, and I didn't want to live like this. She has attended a handful of therapy sessions and sometimes shows promise for change. We also attended a few sessions of couples counseling, although it was ineffective and I canceled future appointments after a rather nasty fight she started, deciding it wasn't worth the cost. I recently had surgery in my foot and wasn't able to do much. I asked her to bring in the grocery delivery later in the day, as she had agreed to do when we placed the order. She went off on me saying that she shouldn't have to do it. She just wants to sit and watch TV, that she never gets a chance to relax, though I had been trying hard to be self-sufficient as much as possible. She screamed at me for an hour, and I just sat there and took it, too tired and medicated to do much more. She did eventually bring in the order. I've realized that there is a good chance she will never completely change, or at least not change significantly within the next few years, and that I don't want to spend even another year with her as she is now. How can I trust she won't blow up at me again and need her support? I want to file for divorce but feel as though I need to give her one more chance before I go through with it. I'm also honestly nervous as to how she will respond when/if I do, whether it be anger or despair and her trying to end herself, as she has attempted previously when I try to break it off with her. Would I be the a-hole to give her an ultimatum I'm sure she would fail, stop screaming at me and calling me names, or I'll file for divorce? Just because the abuse is happening to you doesn't mean you deserve for it to be happening. It's time to leave, friend. Make 2 calls. The first is to the National DV hotline and tell them you need to leave your abusive spouse. They'll give you guidance. The second call you make is to a divorce attorney. Follow the instructions of the experts. If you're sure she would fail, which sounds correct, what would be the point of an ultimatum? She's a bad partner, actually abusive. If the genders were reversed, would asking the female partner of a mentally and physically abusive man to give him another chance seem reasonable? I was about to say the same. A woman posting about a male partner who acted this way would be told in no uncertain terms that he's an abuser, she's not safe, and she should leave ASAP. The woman here is just as much of an abuser as the one in my hypothetical situation. She's abusive, doubly so when OP is medically impaired by recent surgery. I mean, she could have taken a few minutes to just bring the groceries in. But no, first she had to scream at OP for over an hour, and then bring the groceries in anyway. For someone who claims she's tired and doesn't get to relax, she sure wastes a lot of energy throwing tantrums for over an hour. OP, get your financial ducks in a row. Speak to an attorney. People only change when they want to, not when people who love them want them to. Because he's looking for her to make the decision for him. If he makes an ultimatum and she fails, then she's the reason they broke up. But if he asks for divorce, then he's the reason they broke up. It's messed up, but his self-esteem has been eroded, so he's looking for an out. My brother was in a similar situation. His ex-wife was horribly abusive and he dealt with it for years. Eventually, she cheated on him and then kicked him out. If it hadn't been for that, who knows how long he would have stayed.